The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome back to some more love, lust, and life. His name is Kurre. We don't use his last name because he's always in surveillance for Spy for Rent. Spy, the number 4rent.com or spyforrent.com. 790-3051, 790-3051. I just went to your website, by the way, Kurre, and I know that you were in the process of changing some things up. It's a fantastic website. Go check it out. If you need some contact, you can leave your info at spyforrent.com. And, of course, any emails coming my way, info@tonykurreradio.com. We've got some emails to get into. First of all, how are you doing, brother? How's business in the spy and the private investigation world?
It's crazy, Tony. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. As far as I know, I don't think I have anything on me right now, but I am currently in a court case with my ex, so that may be changing. Maybe you can give me some information. I may be doing a bug sweep before too long. You and I talk every week, and you've had special guests on the show, which is fantastic. And again, you can go back and listen to any of our shows. They're available wherever you get your favorite podcasts. We're available on every major industry. And of course, the show also runs at least 5 days a week on TKR, on the TKR app. But you said there's been a real uptick in bugs this week. When you say uptick in bugs, what do you mean?
So I've done 4 sweeps in the past week, and I'm catching things like people using security cameras to spy on their spouse, people using hidden cameras off Amazon, like alarm clocks. People,
Really?
find alarm clocks, different wall chargers, of course, the GPS trackers. And then also I'm seeing a lot of drop recording devices. So like you get just a recorder, it could be voice activated or just one that keeps on going, and they're dropping them in couches. They're dropping them in under seats in vehicles and just spying on their spouse. And we've always done bug sweeps. That's just, that's the heart of the matter, but it's never been this intense. It's almost like every divorce case I'm getting now, the spouse is spying on the other one, either through their vehicle or in their home.
So that's really interesting. So you're telling me that these people that are hiring you think they're already being surveillanced, and so they're doing sweeps to find if there's any bugs or any cameras on them. And we talked about bug sweeps last week. It's not particularly an easy thing. You have to be within a certain frequency or a certain area, and actually to find. Tell people how you would go. Let's say if I wanted you to do a whole sweep of my house, a bug sweep. What goes into that? How does that play out?
So the first thing we would do is I would ask you certain questions for what type of bugs you would be vulnerable to. So what kind of information are they wanting from you? So a lot of times it's phone calls and or perverts want videos in certain, bedrooms and bathrooms and stuff like that. And it's not just like current married couples, it's divorced or separated couples where the people are coming into the house and installing these devices, and or if they have the spare car key, they're going in their car and doing it. But so the first thing we would do is get a baseline of all the frequencies in that home to see if there's an anomaly. So we'll get the baseline, we'll do an analysis on it. Then we'll go through and we use certain tools based off what we're trying to find. So these tools such as a thermal imaging device. So why is that device that shouldn't be on, doesn't look like it's on, producing heat? So It's because it's on. So a lot of times you'll find bug that way. It's a camera, then we'll use what's called a near field detector to look through frequencies that are coming through. And we have specialized equipment. It's not something you just buy at the spy shop.
Yeah.
This is professional equipment, and we'll see that it's transmitting a signal, right? And so that could be Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, whatever. So we'll go through that. And then we'll go through and we'll do a Wi-Fi analysis. So we'll look and see what all Wi-Fi networks are working around your home or inside your home. Where are they at? Where are the locations for these routers and whatnot? Bluetooth devices, we'll check all the Bluetooth devices. Even if they have like a hidden SSID, anything like that, we'll check for that. And then the last thing that we kind of do is we'll like run a black light and see if anything's been tampered with, like anything been unscrewed, outlets. People can put cameras in an outlet. There's actually outlets you can buy on Amazon, and you can actually see a little bitty camera, and we'll use a lens finder. That's another device. So that's like the overview of what we do. Now there's some specifics that we can get into based off of, if you tell me what you're worried about, what do you think somebody's spying on you for? If they're looking for, how do I say this? If they're looking for stuff that's like a little perverted stuff, like nudity, something like that, they're not going to put it in just a regular common area. It's going to be probably in a bathroom or a bedroom, right? So that might narrow down our search a little more. Same thing with a vehicle. If we're looking for GPSs, there's only certain places you can really put a GPS. And I have a well-defined checklist of what we check for, all of our technicians, based off of experience. And we'll, whether it's a home or a vehicle, and a home takes all day, Tony.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you can hide, and you were on our show on ABC 3340. You'll join us again, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, and you can actually show some of the really cool cameras. I know that Jeff brought in water bottles. I mean, you could put a camera in anything, and I'm trying to think, in most cases, we're not talking about James Bond people here. We're talking about a jealous husband or a jealous wife or someone that wants to build a case against somebody. I'm assuming because January is divorce month. You and I have already done a show on that and how there's an uptick in all kinds of surveillance in January because a lot of people are waiting to get through the holidays before they drop hey, I don't want to be with you anymore kind of thing. But I would think that first of all, let me back up a little bit. When you're talking about leaving something in someone's home, do they not have to live there in order to have it surveilled? Or you can't just walk in someone's home dressed as a repairman. I mean, you can, right? But that you can't use that stuff, right? I could not plant a camera in your living room. I couldn't go across the street and just knock on someone's door and say, hey, listen, I got your Girl Scout cookies, and drop a microphone in their couch. Could I? I
mean, if you let somebody in your home, you could, or if they broke into your home, they could. And, some people are good at breaking into homes. I mean, if you don't have so I'll give you one example. We had a really savvy guy, and he was, my client was like, we have Ring cameras. And I was like, Ring cameras, okay, great. They're hooked up to Wi-Fi. And this guy, had a jammer. So, and it's a cheap device too. So he jammed the Wi-Fi. So if the Wi-Fi is not working, you're not getting anything off that camera. Yeah. It's just connected to Wi-Fi. It's not closed circuit. The old school closed circuit stuff is actually one of the better things to have. It's more cumbersome to install versus these new Wi-Fi cameras. You don't have to worry about cabling and whatnot. But no, that's happened where somebody broke into the house. And because they used a jammer, there's no real proof that the person was there until you find the device.
Yeah, and I was going to say, they there's a jammer there too. So obviously, if you're something's being jammed, there's something there to find.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's people use that for like retail theft and stuff too. Now, it's not always 100% these jammers, but if you know what you're doing, you could stop the Wi-Fi camera from recording and catching you in the act. But I mean, I'm seeing it in couples that live together. I'm seeing it with separated couples. I mean, and you've got to tell them things like we're having people change locks after it's cleared. We're having people, trying to, get rid of vehicles. People, their spouse has the, spare vehicle keys from, a year ago, and they're going through a divorce, but he can still go in there and put a recording device on your car, or if it's parked out on the street, they can put a tracker on there, That's crazy.
Kurre joins us here. We don't use his last name, but you can find out who he is if you want to do a little investigation. He's the best, man. 790-3051. Spy for Rent, spy the number 4rent.com or FOR rent.com. They are great. I've been doing business with them. I've used them. A lot of people are like, I thought you said you utilize every business you have on your radio station or on your podcast. I do. And I've used Spy for Rent, and they're fantastic. Very lucrative and very important that I actually had them on my particular case. When you're talking about domestics, I'm assuming that a lot of people, again, you talk about bug sweeps, you're talking about people that actually think that they're being surveillanced. And so they're trying to do like a little reverse psychology type of thing. When you're talking about, well, and this is interesting too, because have you ever been asked to do one side and then the other side calls you? Because everyone knows spy for rent. So I'm assuming have you ever had a wife call and you do surveillance on a husband and then the husband calls and says, listen, I need you to do something on the wife. And if that happens, what do you do?
So you report that to the board just so you don't get in trouble. And then you'd have to, you
can't work both sides.
Or, you don't want to give away your client. Right.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's easy. We're too busy. I can't handle it. Here's somebody else's number. And that usually when that happens, I'll be honest with you. So I'm not a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
I don't claim to be, but I see this stuff a lot. So a lot of times when somebody's cheating, they start worrying about the other person cheating. And for some reason they, or it'll happen too. So, okay, I was cheating. So to kind of cancel that out, they think in their head, they're like, he's got to be cheating. So they want to hire you to find something that's not there a lot of times. And a lot of times with these bugs too, it's just a matter of stalking and harassment. They want to be controlling people. They were controlling in the relationship. There's a reason why this divorce is happening, and they still want to have that control over them. And, they want to know every aspect of their life. So they start stalking their ex or their soon to be ex during the divorce. And that's when we get called for that stuff, Your
phone's ringing right now. I thought it was mine, but it's you. And I that was actually info at TonyCurryRadio.net. We actually had a question here from Julie in Birmingham. She wanted to know from an ethical standpoint, if you are investigating an individual, you're being hired by someone to investigate, say, their mate, but the person who is paying you to investigate is really like flying off the hook. They're doing everything that they're assuming their partner's doing. From a moral obligation, you obviously can't go to that person and say, listen, your husband hired me to get you, and you really should be having him looked at. How do you work that side when you know that someone's cheating on somebody, but they're getting someone else surveillance for cheating, knowing that they're doing the same exact thing? I mean, you just shut up and work?
So,
or will you just say, listen, if you're going to continue this type of behavior, I can't work this case?
So, we can end a case whenever. That's that's in the contract. That's one of the things. If you interfere or if you're doing something immoral, and most of the time they won't tell you this, Tony. They're not going to say I'm cheating on my spouse, but I've had people try to hire me to do basically counter surveillance because they want to run off with their lover. And as soon as I found that out, it's like, no. Our relationship's done. You lied to me. You know what I'm saying? You intentionally did not disclose all the information. And that's more of the issue for me is you lied to me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I might not have agreed to this case if you told me 100% of the truth. But sometimes you'll catch, it's both sides cheating. It's not just one side. So it's kind of a mess either way. They hired you because they cheated 3 years ago, and then, now their husband's cheating, and they want to catch them. It doesn't make anybody right per se. And honestly, the cheating cases are not my favorite cases because they can get messy like that. But,
Are most of these cases, are they a court-appointed situation? Has it already gone to the legal aspect of a divorce, or are they just trying to get some information so they can file divorce papers, or are they doing it so they've got information they can use in court?
So sometimes people will hire us preemptively like, hey, I want to see if my spouse is cheating because if they are, I want to file divorce. If not, then I don't want to file divorce. And that's when the discretion is – it's always paramount, but it's very paramount because these people may not want to go through a divorce. They're just curious, right? And I will say, I read a book one time, and I think that the numbers are pretty accurate. It was something like a woman's intuition's almost like it was over like 3/4 of the way like correct a lot of times. And then like a man's is like 50%.
So when a woman feeling, we call it the gut. When a woman's got that gut feeling, it's usually happening. And when a guy's, in most cases, the guys are 50-50 because they're usually the ones that are cheating. And we see this all the time because I've also seen the situation, a lot of people use as an excuse. When you're with somebody who's always accusing you of cheating, that's the person you want to go look at. Am I wrong? Because that seems to be, I've seen that so many times where she keeps accusing me of cheating on her and I'm not cheating on her. And now normally I'd say, you know what, you need to take a look-see because she's doing something to make herself feel better.
Exactly. So that's what I'm getting at. And that's why some of these people install bugs in people's vehicles that aren't cheating. And they're trying to do their own surveillance, and some of the bugs they place are illegal, and they don't realize that too. But because of their own cheating, they're worried about their spouse cheating, and so they'll start trying to do their own surveillance, and we'll catch the bugs. That happens a lot. But yes, it's that situation. The same thing, like somebody's cheating, and so they start accusing the other person of cheating. You know what I'm saying? Because of their own faults, and they know, well, maybe I don't share my phone password with, I wouldn't want to do that, is what they say to themselves. I don't care. Like, if I'm married, whatever, my message is your message, as long as it's not like a work thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that's very telling, and you're 100% hitting that on the head, Tony. That's, if somebody is accusing you of cheating over and over again, it might be because they are cheating.
790-3051 SPY, for rent SPY, the number forrent.com or forrent.com. He is Kurre. We do the show every single week. It's available wherever you get your favorite podcast. And of course, right here on our YouTube channel on Tony Kurre YouTube, you can watch it every single week. And please tell your friends. And we've had several guests on the show, including several lawyers that were doing domestic cases. And it's unfortunate because I never thought, before I started using your services, you were actually a client of mine first on Tony Kurre Radio. And then I got into the situation. It's amazing how God places people in your life, because I would have never thought to even use your services until I went through my personal situation. I was like, wait a minute, I've got the best on my radio station right now. This is going to be a great thing. And obviously you guys found some information to go on. info@tonykurreradio.net. Steve in Birmingham wants to know, what's the longest case you've ever been on? I'm not sure if this is like what's the longest you've ever surveilled somebody? How long have you been in the backseat of a car? And maybe how long has an actual case gone itself?
So I've gone, a case has been, it might be years. Some of these divorce cases are spanning multiple years, 3-4 years. But, on the insurance side, you could do, maybe do some surveillance on somebody when they first start claiming an injury and you don't see something, but maybe 10 years later, go back and check, because that company's still paying. Right. Yeah. So, and then there's some cases like, Jeff's been doing it over 30 years, right? So there's some cases like...
Jeff is your partner, by the way. Jeff, and of course, everyone knows Jeff Hammock, Spy for Rent, and he did stuff with us for years and he's still doing it. Yeah, go ahead.
So it might be a case that was done 10 years ago, and now we're coming back. It's like it was a divorce case, and now it's a cohabitation case, alimony. So we're trying to get alimony reduction. So that same case that happened 10 years ago, now you're back on it. Or it could be a recurring thing too. Stalkers, that issue pops up, like you catch them once and then 5 years later, they start doing it again. And there's a lot of length to some cases. Now, some cases it's a weekend and done, and you never speak to the client again. Maybe you have to go to court and testify. Some of them, they just settle out, with your report. But so for an actual on surveillance, the most, I want to say it was like 48 hours of straight surveillance, just because, and that's a little bit of rest with other people. But, there's certain times when it's happening now and you weren't expecting this night to, you're only expecting to be out here a few hours, but it ends up being, somebody comes over, they drive from Birmingham to Nashville, and you're following there, and then they go to the hotel, and then, all your other guys are booked out on cases. And so you're staying in Nashville. You've got to stay there because you've got to figure out who is going in that hotel room. And there's no way around it. So you just got to stay put. So, that has happened, and those are very taxing cases. And sometimes clients don't understand that. It's like, dude, I just followed somebody without them knowing over the course of
2 days. Yeah.
2 days. And then we're here. And then,
Does your surveillance, does your work, does it normally, what percentage of work actually for you comes out in a court setting? Or is it normally the woman will say, listen, I've been having you spied on. I know what you're doing and I've got this information. And they usually go, okay, you got me. Or do they call their bluff and then you have to show up?
So most of the time, it settles out. It's like an ace in the hole. Yeah. It's not something that they bring out. If they can't settle, it might go to trial, right? And then you got to go testify for various things. But I would say that's not a majority. That's probably 25%. The majority of cases, we have the report. You lied and said that you were not here at this time doing this in a deposition, and then it's like, oh, really? Yeah. What is this? Kind of deal. And so most of the time that's enough. And it's like a gotcha moment. And it's like, do you really want to fight this? I mean, because also what people don't realize too is infidelity is still a crime. In state now,
unfortunately, a lot of people don't think it is, but you're right.
Yeah. So, I mean, they could plead the fifth on the stand, right? Mm-hmm. But that's kind of telling when they do.
I know I've been there, done that for sure. Info at TonyCurryRadio.net. He is Kurre. He is with Spy for Rent. Bill in Aniana wants to know what type of cases have you done where it's not cheating on an individual, but it's actually trying to hide money. This is really interesting because I would think that when you have a couple together, normally they're sharing finances. You know what's going on unless he's driving a piece of shit and she's not driving something or whatever. Next thing you know, they're going through a divorce and he's like, I got nothing. And he's trying to hide money. What kind of cases do you go through where you're trying to find a large amount of money that someone says, listen, I want to divorce them. I'm getting half.
Yeah. So that happens a lot. So whether they have bank accounts that aren't joint accounts, people will try to hide bank accounts. That happens quite often, or they'll put it in their lover's name or something like that. Cash businesses are horrible. When I say cash businesses are horrible, I mean, I've seen a case where we had to watch them, where they take their money from their business and they're giving it to their lover to put in their bank account. Right. Oh, wow. So it looked like they didn't have any money. And they had all this cash, right? And it's twofold because one, they're lying to the IRS, and then two, they're hiding money from their spouse, and they're saying they can't pay for things like child support, et cetera. It's like, really, how your business is not doing well. But, we can find bank accounts. That's one thing. Now, you have to be very careful about bank accounts because you have to toe the line with the Fair Credit Reporting Act, right? And you have to have specific reasons, and you have to have a permissible use to get those bank accounts. But there's ways to figure out stuff, even if you can't. I mean, sometimes if we have a permissible use, we can tell you your last transactions and how much money's in that account over 30-day period. So we could tell you exactly what's in there and where he's got accounts, where they've got brokerage accounts, where they got certain investments. Well, people try to hide land. And they try to do that with different LLCs that, it's not technically theirs. It's this LLC that they have, and et cetera. And it gets into this labyrinth, and sometimes it's elaborate. If they've got a lot of assets, it can be a chore, nailing down all that. And then the valuation of that too can be a chore. How much is it worth, et cetera? How much is this business really worth? And then also like people, you should talk to your accountant. You really should, about how you pay yourself. And if your wife or husband is on the payroll, how they're paying. Because when you're going through that divorce process, if you're just, taking out 20,000 a month or something for the business, now she's saying that was her salary, you know what I'm saying? So now during the divorce process, until everything's settled, you're paying $20,000 a month of, to her salary, even if she wasn't really doing anything for the business, or he could have just, he was a figurehead. They did the books supposedly or something, came in once a week and made 20,000. So that's something you should consider. But I mean, we can usually find bank accounts, or if you're trying to be really sneaky about it, as long as we have a permissible use, we can find it. And there's other ways. Surveillance, like I said, what banks are they going to? Where are they making their deposits? Where are they bringing this cash? So there's other ways if you can't find the bank account per se. And then the attorney, if there's an open case, can subpoena that bank for all the records.
Oh yeah, because and anyone's been through somewhat of a messy divorce, and I can put my hand up for that. When they go through the discovery process, they were throwing out account numbers that I didn't know what banks they were even talking about. They were talking about banks in Louisville, Kentucky, and Cincinnati. I'm like, I haven't lived there in 30 years. I mean, they were pulling up stuff that I didn't even know still existed. We got time for one more email question here. Kind of a funny one here. Tabitha from Northport wants to know, please ask Corey if the glasses he wears during the show are AI glasses. Have you seen, don't take them off, but they got these new AI glasses. I'm assuming, well, you know about these things because you're Spy for Rent. Now you can take pictures with them. You can do video with these sunglasses. You can do all these types of things. Can you talk a little bit about that and how in the surveillance business or in your line of work, how it's moved forward, how it's even more inconspicuous?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people use stuff like this. These aren't AI glasses. Yeah. I don't even use an Apple Watch, really. I know people that do. And I don't use a lot of off the shelf equipment. Yeah. I'll just put it that, because I'm not training and I'm not doing the surveillance for the layman. I'm doing it for the person, and I'm treating it like you have counter surveillance team on you. I'm not going to use something off the shelf 99% of the time, because if they're smart, I mean, you can, like, everybody knows about the AI glasses. If I go into an establishment with these AI glasses, that could cause suspicion.
Yeah, first of all, you want to make sure that it's a situation where you be wearing sunglasses. I mean, if you're sitting inside of a dark bar with sunglasses on, probably not a good look.
No, I mean, I'm not Corey Hart, right?
You're Corey. Yeah, you're a different Corey.
So that is something to be considerate of. But I will tell you, there's a lot of PIs that use this off the shelf stuff, and I've seen them get caught. So, that's nothing. There's some off the shelf stuff that is good, but I usually try to do homemade stuff whenever possible, just because I don't want somebody to recognize, oh, I bought that off Amazon too. So I know what that is.
Do you have your own queue room? You have your own room queue and put together. Yeah, I bet you got some.
Show you what all's on the other sides of it.
I bet you got some pretty cool stuff. And just side question, I'd ask you: Is your place? Do you have cameras all over your place? I think people would think that you would have cameras, and I will just tell you from experience, when you have someone surveillanced, it can drive you crazy because you know where they're at and you can check whenever you want. And it will drive, you'll spend the entire day watching this person, go to a Subway and get a sandwich and do this, that, and the other. And it can drive you crazy. That's why Spy for Rent gets paid to do these things for you. So you don't have to go out and do it yourself, because you start playing games in your head, particularly when you're going through a divorce situation. If you got children, you catastrophize a lot of different scenarios in your head. Let Spy for Rent do the dirty work for you.
Yeah, that's hitting on the head, Tony. Yeah, I have cameras, and I do security consulting too. So I have cameras in specific places now. If you came over to my house and you're my friend, I don't have cameras that's going to be, spying on my friends. I don't do that. And also you've got to maintain a little bit of privacy, especially if you have somebody coming in for a consultation or something, that stuff never gets recorded. I've seen it backfire on people. They record. Not me. Other PIs I've heard of recording conversations with their client, which is crazy to me. And they made stuff discoverable that should have never been discoverable and got their client in worse trouble. So that I don't record anything that me and the client talk about. Just because of that, I don't want to create any kind of discoverable item, but I do. Yes, I'm constantly on, I'm not paranoid, but, just to keep the safety of all this, every one of my facilities, every one of my houses has cameras, one for my own safety, two for any kind of filing. It gets locked up in a certain way, it gets shredded a certain way, it gets shared a certain way because we don't want it to leak.
Yeah.
So I'm very cognizant about that. And then the other thing is too, Tony, you're right. Like I have to tell clients this all the time. They want, they're over here right now, you know what I'm saying? And they're calling you and I'm like, man, you are going insane and you're going to drive yourself crazy. I can tell you're aging already. And we're 6 months into this process. You've hired a good attorney. You've hired a lot of times the best attorney. So listen to them.
Yeah.
Listen to the attorney, trust the process. That's what you're hiring me for. And don't stress. That attorney's going to get the best outcome for you. And I'm going to get all the evidence I can to back up what you need.
There you go.
And that's easier said than done. So I understand it's an emotional thing.
We can certainly talk about how you probably have a good reference list of therapists that people probably need to call, because I can imagine you walking in saying, I've got something in this envelope that you probably want to see, but you probably don't want to see. And then you're probably dealing with a lot of grief too. So that's certainly something we can talk about in some future shows. Tell people how you can get in touch with you, Kurre.
So they can call us at 205-790-3051, or the email is intake@spy4rent.com, intake@spy4rent.com, and then just spy4rent.com. You can get us there.
And make sure you check out Kurre. He'll be on television with us, ABC 3340, 10:30, 11 o'clock, and not this Saturday, the following Saturday. And you can find some more details. Bring one of your super cool cameras, one of those things that I would have never thought. Not one from the store. I want one of your things that you made homemade.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Have a good one, Tony.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.